Om Shanti. Welcome everyone. As Marcelo said, number 7, and I'm Judy in Halifax, Canada. A big thank you to Marcelo for beginning this project right at the start of COVID. He reached out to me to say, hey, I think we need conversations for Brahmins. And so we've had 6 other conversations, everything from financial insecurity, emotional eruptions, finding my place, my relationship with time, using my divine intellect in the face of obstacles, fulfilling my potential, and today, now last but not least, death of all deaths. So these are meant for private conversations amongst us. And I think the inspiration from Marcelo is that as our seniors are more occupied elsewhere or leaving their bodies, we can draw from amongst the senior brothers and sisters we know so well to share their wisdom for us out here in the double foreign lands. So this one, I will introduce our guests in a moment, but this one is the death of all deaths. And as I'm told by Marcelo, this will be number 7 of 8. So let's see, we have one more. And we haven't figured out what it is just yet, but it's coming. So this death of all deaths, I think we all are used to this word, death, because Baba's the death of all deaths, and we are dying alive. And even last week in the Murli, I think Baba said, demons of death, which is not something I hear all that often. And Sister Mohini last week said, okay, we're to be removing that word from our mind. No longer shall we say death. So we're here to talk about death. And to join us today, we have 3 wonderful souls. I'll introduce briefly, but I think you know them all. Sister Maureen, welcome Maureen. I think you're maybe just off an airplane back from Iceland. Is this true? Yes.
Yes, just a couple of hours, yeah.
What a trooper, thank you. So Maureen, I think everyone knows you, although the title Director of Europe, but of UK, sorry, yep, of the UK, but definitely Baba's right hand to the world, and just returning from a week plus in Iceland to be with the family and to celebrate our brother Thor, who has just left his body. So coming fresh with recent insights. Brother Eric is joining us from Montreal, Canada. Here in Canada, we refer to him as our national treasure. Because we love him so.
Espero que agora estejam a escutar a tradução para português.
Is everyone else hearing the Portuguese too, or just me?
Sorry. Irmão, desculpe, mas quando você dá clique aí, você passa ao canal principal. Você tem que dar clique no outro botão. É só dar clique no outro botão para falar no canal de português. Sorry.
Qual outro botão? Eu coloquei em português.
Vou ter que mutar você, desculpe.
Ok.
Okay, and French is having some difficulty, Marcelo, so I'll leave that with you. Eric works as a senior producer, broadcaster, journalist in our National Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, lives in Montreal, and recently, well, he's a documentary maker and has recently made that beautiful Daddy Janky film that we all love, Touching the Heart. And he's in Montreal joining us today. And our sister Marianne is in Costa Rica and coordinates all the activities of the Brahma Kumaris there, and works in mental health, works with individuals who are experiencing difficulty, either abuse of a physical or sexual nature, and mental health, and is offered her talents and experience to support mental health of BKs in Latin America. So we have 3 jewels with us today to talk about death, and we only have about an hour, so we only have 2 questions, and I've sent the questions out in advance. So the first one is, even though, you know, death is part of our life as Brahmins, there's still some, for many, some concern, some fear, some worry, some discomfort with the whole title. And then especially God says, I'm the death of all deaths, can be frightening for people who don't, who have a little concern about death. So the first question really from each of you, 5 to 8 minutes each or so, is just tell us a little bit about your experience and especially how your feelings or thoughts about death have changed since you've become a Brahmin. So on your journey, tell us a little bit about your relationship with death. And we're going to begin with Sister Maureen.
Thank you.
Fresh off the airplane.
Okay. So I'm Shanti, and hello to everyone, and good to be with you all. And yes, just come from Iceland. I wish I'd gone there for a different purpose, but according to drama, Brother Thor left the body just over 2 weeks ago, and we had the funeral last Friday. And I have to say, when I saw the body, we had a ceremony with the body and then people speaking and so on. But he looks so beautiful, so like a royal prince. I mean, I've really not seen anything like it. It was quite amazing. And you always do feel the presence of the person at those times, and he prepared so
Shanti.
well, and
Estou novamente a tentar. Ok, não dá.
I can hear the translation again. Okay, yeah, and he had just prepared so well and had prepared everyone around him so well. But I know the question is a little more personal in a way to myself. It's interesting being brought up Jewish. There's a huge amount of superstition around death, and it was always very frightening to me. And I remember as a child, I must have been 7 or 8 or 9 or something. I remember asking my mother, what's it like to die? And my poor mother was a bit worried. But I remember that I remember my thought process at that time. I couldn't construct the question properly. It came out as that. But my real question was, I can't imagine not existing. So I already had that feeling of the eternity of consciousness, but I suppose everything around me was telling me there's this terrible thing called death. And I think coming into Gyan and everything, and learning about the soul and the eternity of the soul and experiencing it, that was just amazing. If I'm honest, I can't say that all fear of death is totally gone. I still feel a little bit of the mystery. But it's interesting that I've had to now conduct quite a lot of funerals. And I remember saying to my dad, my Lockett dad once, you know, Dad, I think I'd have sooner been a brain surgeon than conduct a funeral. It was like right outside of but that's made me look at it and understand that it's a natural process that has to happen, and that really the soul goes on the journey. I went on a particular journey with
novamente
one
a tentar
soul.
a tradução para português. Não.
Sorry, I can hear the translation. Okay. Some of you remember her, Leslie, and I was there when she actually left the body, and it had quite an impact on me, actually. But I remember about 2 days before, she left on a Friday and it was Wednesday, and I went to see her, and somehow it was just the two of us in the room, and she was thanking me, you know, for whatever, and something came out my mouth. I said, well, it's just like if you know someone's going on a service trip, you help them prepare, you give them something, you may give them some advice or whatever. And so you're just going on a trip, you're going on a journey. So I was just helping you prepare. And somehow that really put it all into perspective for me. And she left the body so beautifully. And the way they described how Thor left the body with a smile, which is exactly what he wanted. In fact, I was listening to his masterclass on embracing death, and everything he talked about, he actually achieved. He was so conscious in preparing, and he'd really diminished that fear so much. And that's a great inspiration to me personally. And I know at times when my yoga is good, powerful, I feel that very deep connection with Baba, that I feel then, yes, it's going to be easy, it's going to be fine. And I see when I get more caught up in action that death then seems more scary if I come across it. So that's interesting. The work that Thor did, and I saw the same with Leslie. In fact, it was then I realized that healing isn't necessarily about healing the body. Healing is actually about healing the soul. And I watched her heal all her relationships. And Thor also, he just did a huge amount of cleaning out. And so it's made me feel that I have to start that preparation, even though, yes, I'm fine and whatever. And of course, who knows what's around the corner, but there's no reason to think that I may go anywhere soon. But it's just made me think that I need to prepare in a sense, or do the cleaning out more consciously. And of course, Daddy Janki, she prepared so well. She was ready. So just the feeling I have to be in that state of readiness. And there was a beautiful message that Baba sent for Thor. We just read it today or last night. And Baba's saying that with courage he passed. And I also remember Wajiha, when she left the body, or before then, it was her last meeting with Baba. It was in Shantivan, and she was about the third row. She was standing up with everybody, and Baba couldn't quite get her name, but Baba definitely was talking to her, and Baba said the daughter has passed. And you know, these souls are an inspiration because of the incredible internal work they did, and they had that impending situation of death or of leaving the body to spur them onto that. And yes, as I say, it's made me think that it's, of course we all need to do it, Baba tells us to do it, but it's just made me a lot more conscious of it. And the more you do it, the less there's fear. So yeah, it's not been an easy relationship with death, and somehow drama's made me come close to it. But it's okay. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Just listening to you speak, there's a quiet confidence. I know you're tired from your journey and everything, but also having been through so many experiences with death, you know, as a Brahmin, it really has given you a different relationship with it by the sounds of it. So it's very beautiful. And that alone is inspiration for us listening. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Eric, would you share with us, please, your reflections and experiences and ideas and feelings about death?
Well, I can also share even encounter with that.
Oh, yeah.
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 Greetings of love and life to everyone. Happy to join, and thank you for welcoming me. And it's beautiful to listen to you, Maureen, and started to feel worried about, did I think about being prepared that well? Will I have a smile on my face when the time comes? I don't know, maybe I'll start rehearsing tonight, you know, and see if I can get ready. Anyway, it's a very interesting topic because, I think in the early days in Yan, I was in my 20s. And the only thing that death meant to me was betrayal from God. And my first encounter with death, of course, was with my mother at the age of, I was 14 at the time. And very interestingly enough, I was quite strong Catholic and praying intensively, just I think to clean myself from all my mistakes as a young little kid. So I would, go to church every Sunday, do the confessional thing and all these things, and singing in the choir every Sunday. So I was a very good Catholic boy. And I was told when I was very young that if you don't pray before going to bed, you may not wake up. So this is being terrified by God killing you in your sleep because you didn't do your little rosary thing. So I remember waking up sometimes in the morning or in the night. Did I do it? Did I do it? No, maybe I didn't. So I would do it again, just to make sure I would wake up in the morning. So fear of death. And then one night I remember I was sleeping, and then my grand aunt shook me up to wake me up fairly abruptly, and I started grumbling. And then she said, well, if you knew what happened to your mother, you wouldn't say that. That's how I was told that my mother died. And I know it didn't take a split second. Today I work in television, and I can tell you in a second there are 30 pictures to create 1 second. So I think in less than a second, my mind went to God, and I told God, that's it. I never want to hear from you again. You just betrayed me. I did everything, I did my rosaries. You betrayed me. And I got very, very angry at God because I knew he, according to our faith, he took my mother away. I gave a last chance to the priest, who was also, he was a priest, but also he was my piano teacher. And I went to the Presbyterian, I remember at the time, 14 years old. And I prepared myself almost as if I had to do a master class. So I had to go and meet this piano teacher priest. And I had prepared myself, but I wanted to make sure that before I turned my back to God, I was, hearing it properly. So I went to him and I said, tell me again why my mother passed away. And I knew if he starts saying, God in his great wisdom, whatever, call your mom, that was it. So that's what he said, God chose to call your mom. So I came up with my master class prepared for him. And my master class at the time at 14 was, well, tell your God that in our world, this is called a serial killer. The one who takes people's life away like this. We call them here serial killer, and they go to jail. And next time, tell your God that before killing a mom, you should ask the children to know if they're okay with it. And I was so proud of myself for just splitting it in one way. And I left the Presbyterian very, very angry, and I slammed the door, I remember, so loudly that I don't know if I broke something. That was my big break moment with God when my mother passed when I was 14. 7 years later, of course, when I was introduced to Baba, I was like, no, I don't want to hear about God. This is not good friend of mine. Because for 7 years, I rejected any person in my life who would believe in God. So it took a long time, to reestablish a connection between death not being the act of God. That was my big trauma, that God is a killer, basically. And now that we know Baba, of course, how can we possibly imagine God being a killer? And the thing that's changed actually quite dramatically was very quickly after Yan. I was almost killed by drunk kids on the street on my way to Merle class. I was, again, doing my good thing. I was dressed in white. I had all my badges and all this white stuff around. It was 5:45 in the morning. And the center was just a few blocks away from where I live. And I saw those two, and I'll make it very short, but I saw those two drunk kids, coming towards me, and I knew right away something's going to happen. It goes so quickly in these moments. And those two young guys, obviously like terribly drunk, jumped on me and one pushed me against the wall, and he had this, how to call it, American fist, which is a metallic thing on your fist. And I remember the waste thought I had, because I had one waste thought before having a powerful thought. And the waste thought was, well, Eric, if you thought you were handsome, this is it. This is finished. I was told all my youth, I was a very handsome little boy, and I thought, this is the end of it. And I really thought, I mean, the other guy was telling this one who was pushing me, he was telling him, hit him, hit him, hit him. And I thought he was going to kill me, you know, with this thing. And then suddenly I became very, very, how to call it, very loose and totally like a spaghetti, you know, like a mushed spaghetti. And I was holding his hand for strange reason. In one hand, he was going to hit me. The other hand was holding my hand. And I looked at him in the forehead. And I just became so peaceful, so quiet. And I had a thought, brother, do what you have to do. Just do what you have to do. You're my brother. And I could hear the other one, hit him, hit him, hit him. And the guy was about to hit me, and I could see the fist was pretty big. He just backed up and he said, okay, okay, okay. And he ran and he told his friend, says, let's go, let's go, let's go. And, you know, I was 21 at the time. I didn't think of running after him. Says, brother, can you share your experience, please? I'd love to know. What did you see? But the thought I had was that, did Baba save me? So the serial killer came to my rescue. Okay, okay, after all, maybe you can do things also in a good way. It's strange, but it did change a little bit my openness. And of course, after that, I was just a few weeks in Guyana at the time. Until 6 years ago, when I almost passed away, I had a diving accident, very, very silly on a holiday. And when that happened, you know, you're very cheerful, you're enjoying. I was with some BK friends who were having fun for many days and diving and swimming in that area. But we moved a little bit on the side and I didn't pay attention. And when I dove, I hit a rock. And all the doctors told me afterwards I was a miracle, because they said, you should be dead. You know, the way you hit the rock and how it opened up everything. And on the moment it happened, to be very honest with you, I couldn't feel Baba's presence. I couldn't think of anything. I was just trying to handle the physical pain. And it's only a few days later that it hit me. And the thought came, I could have died. But I feel like there was maybe a few days during which this consciousness could not handle the idea of leaving the body. And it's only a few days later that the thought came, you know, you could really have died. Everybody told me that for many days, but it went right through. And when it started to hit me, to be honest with you, I was shaking. And I started to feel, whoa, that was it. That's how it happens. You have no idea. And then within a second, you can leave the body. And it really completely changed my whole relationship with life and death. And it took me quite a few months, you know, to figure out my relationship with life, my relationship with death. And it's really, it would take too long to share all these things. But now, you know, when I look at how I also covered events with CBC on television, the shooting in Newtown, if you remember the Sandy Hook school about 8 years ago, it was a terrifying situation when we saw these kids being killed by a terrorist, basically, or a killer. These ideas and all together forced me, I think, to really prepare myself for dying properly and understanding the process of dying. And yes, I do feel today it's a journey, but I know it could be pretty intense when the moment happened. And the thought for me was, am I prepared? Am I going to know what to do, what to think, depending on how it happens? If I have a few weeks to prepare, it's one thing, but what if it happens all of a sudden? So yeah, my relationship changed. And I would say today, I like very much when Daddy told us, Sister Maureen also told us many times, you have to be very friendly with Dharmaraj. So once it's time to get into your little chit chat with him, you already have made acquaintance and, you know, friendship has already happened on that level. So I would say I talk to death, but I mostly experience that life, my relationship with life has changed tremendously. And I've had many experiences where I felt life is such a blessing, it's such a gift. And coming to a point where I realize my life is full, it's fine. And if I die today, it's okay. I've got already everything I need. Every day now is extra. Every day is bonus. So I would say my relationship with death really changed by creating a new relationship with life, really. I have to stop, otherwise I want to hear Marianne.
That's beautiful, Eric. Thank you so much. Such good stories, and they're very vibrant stories. Like they give life, you know, even just listening to them, even though they're stories about almost death. That's quite wonderful. Thank you for that. Marianne, let's hear from you.
Om Shanti. Well, you know, when I came in Gyan, I was 19, and one of my favorite experiences in yoga was this cemetery. You know, this, I don't know if you have done that you practice, that you are just lying, like sleeping.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
you say in English?
Lying down in the graveyard.
Exactly, the graveyard experience. I really like that a lot. And just feeling that Baba gave me a lot of experience that he would be there, and that we are just the soul, and we just say goodbye to the body and goodbye to everyone, and giving thanks to everyone for whatever they did for us, and then just go, you know. And so I was so intoxicated with those experiences, and that I'm a soul, that I have this dog that was dying, and I was just giving drishti to the dog, said, "You're a soul, and it's going to be easy." And it was easy, you know, in those days. But then what happened is later in Gyan, brothers and sisters start to get sick. And at a very young age, I had to be with them, and in a way to accompany, and I would not say helping them to leave the body, but be with them in those moments. And one thing that I learned is that death is a process that would need digestion, and it's not something that you are going to digest quickly, or sometimes you do digest quickly.
E agora português? Oi?
Ativei.
Não, você tem que selecionar português. Não fale nada que tá interromperei.
We hear the Portuguese again.
Yeah, sorry.
Carrega em português.
Okay.
Thank you. So I think that some audio is there. Okay. So what happened in this digestion, in the process, I think that need the digestion not only in the soul that is leaving the body, but in the rest of the family. And as when we eat, things start, you have to chew, and you have to allow that to be really thin in order for you to the food to go through here, to pass, and then goes to your stomach, and then it becomes blood. And
Aí agora, Manel.
Não.
And then it becomes a strength in your body, no, because it feeds you. But then it's a process, no, and sometimes it's difficult. That thing is here. You cannot swallow.
Swallow.
So one sister that I was with her, she called me to be with her in those moments. She couldn't go because, you know, because it was so interesting to see why she couldn't leave the body. It's like in that moment is when the unconscious mind is very active too. It's like when you are going to sleep, the dreams you have sometimes are so funny because the unconscious mind is there, and you cannot suppress that, is there. So this sister, she couldn't go because she said that she had cancer and she was in that condition, because when she saw the news that Chavez in Venezuela had cancer, she said, oh, that's good. And then she said, oh, because I thought that, I'm having cancer, you know? So she was thinking in that way. She was completely, her body was very terrible, very terrible condition. She couldn't go. She needed to express that to me, that she felt so guilty, you know? And I realized that those situations were happening, and suddenly Baba gave me kind of touching of what she needed. So I was telling her, okay, Baba is here and he forgives you, and you forgive yourself. That's fine. Whatever has happened, just happened. It's fine. Forgive yourself, no? And then you just feel that Baba surrounds you with angels, and all of us are helping you. And she lived. Hours later, she left the body. So I think that it's a process to digest, and it has kind of steps. And recently, as Maureen just had the experience with Brother Thor, we just have a funeral of a sister here on Sunday. And it was beautiful. She prepared, as you were saying, with knowledge. At the end, she just was in the soul conscious state. But then when she left, we needed to digest that. We were kind of prepared because we were accompanying her in meditation. We sent a meditation, but then we create something in Zoom because she was not in the country, and you know, so we prepare something for the family, and that was so important for the family. As I heard that Sister Maureen was with the family in Iceland, I think that is so important, because the company of others really help in these moments. As when Daddy Yankee left the body this time, we had kind of a get together in Zoom just to see how everyone is dealing with Daddy leaving the body. Even we know that she's going to go in a special part and that she's 104, you know, that is in your cognitive level. But then emotionally, we need other things to digest. So we have to acknowledge that. It's not only in that rational level. So then when we did that and everyone expressed, some wanted to be very kind of not feeling anything, just, oh, I feel so good, just she left and that's fine. And others were having tears, you know. But what we said is everything is fine. Whatever you feel, it's okay. You don't have to feel guilty because you feel sad. Like you are going to, it's part of the process, and that is going to pass, but it's fine, you know, because that doesn't mean that you are not strong enough. You are, but it's your feeling. And I think it's so important that to accept, because as when you have, imagine that your body is a house, and the soul express its energy in this house, and the emotions that when you suppress, they become stuck in some part of your body in your house. And so you become ill when you suppress, because emotion is there. You are trying not to feel, but it's there, it's not true. So it's better to acknowledge that it has entered and it's in some place in your body, because it's a reflection of your soul. And so acknowledge that, and Baba is going to help us to remove that emotion and to put that emotion away, like kind of opening the door of this house and letting that emotion go out, no? But sometimes the emotion is holding in some places. It's not so easy, and that's fine too, because sometimes we need the family to express what we feel. And when we express and we are understood, then it's easy, you know? And it has happened, like I was telling the sister where I live, that I have received some calls of people before they die, because I feel that they remember Baba and they need some kind of embracing, a spiritual embrace to know that they are going to live fine. So I think that this process is quite like, it's a process of love. It's a process that needs sometimes the company. And I felt all these times when I was with people leaving the body, I always felt kind of Brahma Baba, Bab Dada, but quite like subtle Brahma Baba there. And recently when Sister Mohini was talking about this, because I think one big thing that Baba is giving to us is that when Daddy left, Sister Mohini has been with us every night for more than 200 days. And that is a big thing. It's a big thing. Like, I really appreciate that, because it's quite like she's kind of supporting the different process of digesting everything, because this is a crisis, in a pandemic crisis, many people of our family getting sick, leaving the body. So it's quite like saying we are here and Baba is here. And she said that when, for example, for Daddy, she expressed that she's an angel. And when some sister here in Latin America, her grandmother left the body, Sister Mohini told her, your grandmother now is an angel. Kind of, you know, you see her as that. You know that she's going to have a very loving home where she's going to go. But right now it's kind of an angel, no? And that image helped a lot, you know, to see souls in that process, and accepting little by little the fact that is there. You know, even we know it's something that it's going to happen to all of us. I'm sure Brahma Baba is there, and I feel like he's kind of our angel. Really, I feel him like that. This Sunday when I was accompanying the sister, I felt like Baba is there. So we don't have to be fearful in that way. And the last time he will be there. So, Om Shanti.
Wonderful, Marianne, wonderful. It's lovely to hear you speak about the emotional aspect of it, you know, as digestion. So yes, we understand one thing, but then, you know, are we able to process it? Are we able to handle it emotionally? The second question, and all of you have already spoken somewhat about this, is about, well, what is the work that we do have left to do? I know here I have a dear friend who's a chaplain in the palliative care, and so I'm with him a lot through the death experiences there. And they, in the Lokic, they refer to the death experience as deconstructing ego. And they have the steps, like 12 steps that every soul goes through in their nearing death, is what they call it, the nearing death experience. And he's writing a book right now about how this assisted death is actually shortcutting, it's cutting the soul's capacity to do this work that it needs to do before leaving the body. It's a very interesting subject. But even in the Lokic, these chaplains are speaking about what happens for the spirit during the death experience is a deconstruction of ego. And I mean, we didn't sign up. Baba chose us, we're here. It's our fortune, it's our karma. But to die alive, so we know we're deconstructing ego now as we go, before we're in palliative care. We understand that. But I'm wondering for each of you what you think the work is. And I just want to quote Thor, because in his final note to all of us, I loved his words. He said, this facing death has been a very good experience for me, but he said, And I know Maureen, he did all of his work. I mean, when I saw him last summer, he was doing it actively. And, you know, prior, because he knew he would be leaving. And he was always a soul who did his work anyways. He was always a soul who thought, I have to clean myself out, you know. But I loved his final words. They were, this facing death, he said, I noticed that any trace of fear manifests in some kind of pain. And he said, the process of releasing fear and all sorrow has been the key. So that really got me wondering, okay, releasing fear and all sorrow, those are his sort of final words after he had done all of the work to set his relationships right, to detach from people, to detach from things and places and service and opinions and ideas, and preparing the team to take over. So he did, you know, we were able to witness his work, and it was very interesting, those final words from him. And Maureen, you were the one to see the result, this royal, beautiful, you know, body left by a soul who left it in that state. I mean, how beautiful is that? So the second question is really, what is the work? What do we still have to do so we arrive fearless, so we have that beautiful royal death, whether it's in a split second like some of Eric's examples or over a long period? Really lovely to hear your ideas about this. So maybe Maureen, you can go first.
Okay, I think Marianne speaking about the emotional side of things is really, really important, because we can't, you know, we can't negate, or just a sec, I just want to get rid of this thing on my, that's it, sorry, because we can't deny our emotions, and I don't think we should, and I don't think I do really, you know, if I feel upset, people know about it. So, but something that I really understood last year, I had, I wasn't well, and I had a bit of a scare that this thing that was going on could have been cancer or something. Luckily, it wasn't at all, and it was something else, and that's not, it's quite livable with and can be dealt with. But what I discovered on that little journey, and it's interesting, I was talking to Thor about it as well, that you're kind of, you know, I suppose part of me used to think, oh, you know, I've become a Brahmin, that's it, died alive, like you say, that part's gone, now I'm a Brahmin. But it's really, really not like that. Everything is built up over, it's like a continuum. Whatever has come from your past births or the birth before Gyan, the emotions you've been through, the things that have influenced you, they're all inside still influencing you today. And also I learned about how the emotions learned, I experienced it, the emotions passed on from our ancestors, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, even though we may not have been in those families in another birth, but the fact that those emotions are transmitted through the generations, because a mother will unconsciously transmit any kind of, if there's been trauma, it will be transmitted to the child, even though it won't be a conscious thing. And it's interesting, actually, Thor saying that just shortly, a couple of years before he was born, there was another boy who died at the age of 2 or 3. And so he said, my mother was carrying that sorrow, so I was born into sorrow. And so you inherit this emotional past, your own past, but also from the parents that you're born to. And actually, and I remember at the beginning of Gyan, I mean, I used to have a lot of tears, you know, like many of us did. And I was also young, 21, when I came to Baba. And Daddy said to me once, you still have a lot of sorrow inside of you. And, you know, in this life, I really haven't had much sorrow. I've been very lucky, good parents. They're not here now, but, you know, just not really had anything that's very traumatic or anything relationship-wise. Had a lot of love in my life. So I was puzzled, but it was really only last year, although those feelings have, you know, are not there so much at all, but it was last year that I really understood this whole continuum and where that sorrow could have come from. And I didn't need to analyze it, but it was just knowing it, understanding it, that that's what it is, fine. Then it was possible to let go of quite a lot. So I think that's something we need to all acknowledge, this continuum of our lives and of life, and then to embrace that and transform it, but not to try and cut it off. I think, for me anyway, I think that's a mistake. It doesn't work. It'll come back to you or be subtly influencing you from the inside. And so I think I have still personally work to do on the emotional level, because I can still come into quite strong emotions at times, whether it's rejection or frustration, not in the sense that it's not an obstacle for me like it used to be at all, but subtly I see the traces of it there. And, you know, I know that there's still the influence. So I know that on the emotional level, I do have to do that work. But I also know that when I really feel that relationship with Baba, relationship is not really the word. It's you just feel so deeply that Baba's there for you. Baba knows you. Baba understands you, and you're safe. And when you feel that, it's like, you know, everything falls into place. And I know I need to nurture that a lot more, that real deep, beautiful feeling of safety in my relationship with Baba, or my being with Baba, because he really anyway, that for me, I think, is where it lies. And it's so important, like with the family in Iceland on the next day after the funeral, we just got together, everybody spoke about their feelings, we offered Borg, we had Brahma Bhoshan together, and it was so healing, so healing. And I know when my mum left the body, she was the first one to leave, but of course I wasn't young, she was in her 80s. And but when I made that train journey from London up north, having got the news, then I got quite a few phone calls from people. It was so important that people phone me. And that taught me, someone has a relative leave the body, phone them, you know. So I always do that. Even if I'm in another faraway part of the world, I'll find a way of phoning the you know, member of our BK family. So I think we can play a part in supporting each other, but ultimately we really, really need that beautiful safety we feel with Baba. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Maureen. Thank you. Somebody has asked on the chat about, should we just accept that I am afraid of death? Like that there is nothing wrong with just accepting that, you know, and that's actually part of what prepares us, rather than denying it and saying, oh, I'm a Brahmin, I know, I'm just going to go on. You know, as you said earlier, that actually some of these emotions, just admitting them, acknowledging them, is part of the work we have to do now.
Yeah, and that definitely, and it's okay. It's fine.
Okay. It's
And when
fine.
you acknowledge it,
Yeah.
it begins to soften and begins to dissipate.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
acknowledge it in front of Baba, talk to Baba, That's what he's
Yeah.
there for. Just talk to
Yeah.
him. But tell Baba honestly, Baba, this is it. This is how I am.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Don't
That's
try and be
beautiful.
don't try and be perfect, because that's
Right. Or,
the journey.
yeah.
Do
Or
try,
tough it out.
do
Tough it
try,
out, you know.
yeah, do try to be perfect, because that's our journey, but don't try to be perfect just now if you're not.
Yeah. Don't try and fake it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
That's great. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you.
Eric, would you comment on the work that, from your experience, the work that you feel is in front of you, us?
Yes, there's a lot of work to do, I think. I'm not sure I'm ready. The thing that I recognize is how this is important. And, the thing that I moved from is this notion of the end being the end of the world, but concentrating more on the end of the journey to be my own ending, and that could be any time. And I know we've been told that many, many times, and Baba also told us, don't count on your body. It can go any time. My question sometimes to me is dealing with my own death the same thing as dealing with other people's death? And I think to me they're a little bit different, and handling other people's death is not that simple. I totally appreciate what Maureen shared, and Marianne also, because the emotion could be just like a volcano erupting when we are not expecting it. And I remember being faced with death of a dear one, and then telling myself before the funeral, be strong, you're a BK, you can handle it, be detached. I told myself 300 Merlis, in a split second to get ready. And the next thing I could see myself arriving at the funeral was just being in tears and totally unable to handle these emotions. And I realized leaving the funerals that it's good I didn't have a big sign, a big billboard. I'm a BK and Rajogi and, fearless towards death and totally detached. I'm glad I was incognito and nobody could tell, well, these BKs, they really do cry right in funerals. But yeah, facing, I projected a lot of things to practice, to be honest. I hope my logics are not listening, but I rehearsed facing the death of all my beloved ones, my father, my sisters, just to see if I could, where am I going if I get into that kind of thoughts? Because I know most of us, could be very emotional when things happen. When I started, in Gyan, and I keep hearing Baba saying, I come to take you home, to me, it was not a good news. It was like, I'm a kid having a lot of fun in the playground, and this is my parent coming, so, okay, everybody home. I said, no, I want to play, I want to continue. Dying alive has never been for me a very inspiring thing to do, just intellectually, yes. So where I feel I'm standing at now is, I take it very seriously. I know everything I do at the moment has to be realigned on the basis of my timing with death, leaving my body at the time it's going to happen. And of course, more and more the efforts I'm making, all the efforts are just about, am I going to be able to reach the stage I want to reach by the time I leave the body? Forget about golden age and all the other timings. And the understanding I have is that it's all about increasing the level of energy of the soul. And recently I've been exploring this notion that I was not comfortable with, which I never took very seriously. Baba came to bring us back home. And since I didn't want to go home anyway, I still want to have fun and play, have an 85th extra birth, maybe if possible, I don't mind. I thought, no. Okay, what's this all about? And lately I've been really trying to explore this experience of I, the soul, going back home and telling Baba, you know what? I want to go home with you. And I've been really exploring, and it feels like going in a tunnel, this kind of experience where you engage in a zone where there's no return. In French, they call it cul-de-sac, it's just like the dead end. In English, I did dead end. That's the way it is. You just go there and there's no coming back. And if you engage in that experience, the spiritual experience, telling Baba, Baba, yes, I'm coming home. It means that this has to resonate with, I'm okay not to be in this world anymore. And not because I'm giving up or it has to be very, I think, refined and clear and deep. Why would I be willing not to be in this world anymore? And so this dying alive with this realigning of my level of energy that doesn't resonate with the old world anymore, and all the sorrow and all the ugliness and all the negativity we see in this world, it's not I want to go away from it. It's just I don't resonate with it. It doesn't keep the souls at its peak energy. And I really feel that for me, the work I'm doing at the moment, I don't know for others, but for me, it's about really going seriously about being prepared to go back home with Baba and listening to the call of time, the call of people who are suffering, the real state of the world, not on an intellectual, not on a news format, but in the level of energy of the soul, level of energy. And if I, the soul, can regain the purest energy that align myself with Baba, I think that I'll be ready to process this whole passage through death in a different way. I mean, I hope. Maybe I'm wrong and Baba say, sorry, you had to practice something else. You didn't take the right Srimat. But I'm listening to that, and the only good news, by the way, is that we're going to eat a lot of halva. Because when I heard the first time that if your mother dies, eat halva, that also helped me to reconciliate myself with the fact that I thought he killed my mother, and now he says, oh, no, you can enjoy. And so I think that in our reality, we're eating more and more halva as we grow older in Yan, but there's going to be an avalanche of halva very soon. So let's be prepared for that. But internally, I would look at the beautiful significance. And the point I really feel deeply for myself that I try to expand in relating when other people leave the body. Many years ago, I had the thought that death should be as sacred as birth. And I started to look at death. I know Denise one day told me, Eric, the last act of a soul in its part in one life is to attend the funeral. And I thought that was very entertaining that, yeah, my last thing to do with this body will be actually to bury it. So I started to relate to this notion that the sacredness of death should be as important as the sacredness of birth. The way we welcome the soul to this world in a body and celebrate, and we feel so happy when a child is born, that should really resonate with an equal, beautiful moment when time comes to leave the body. And I think certainly in Christianity, we haven't recognized that at all. And we destroyed the sacredness of death in a way. I know some people live it in a beautiful way. So for me, I'm starting to see more and more death as something sacred, beautiful, with a lot of meaning, a lot of depth, a lot of significance, and the divine experience. When Marianne said about, Sister Maria saying she's becoming an angel, we all had that experience. My grandmother was an amazing woman, Catholic, and ocean of love, and I feel she was almost like a daddy. And when she left the body, I could feel her presence so strongly with me so many times. So I think death is sacred. It's as beautiful as birth, and it resonates, with the beginning and the end comes together. So that's my inner work, but mostly at the moment is a calling of Baba saying, come home, come home. It's the time, be prepared and enjoy the journey back home.
Thank you, Eric. It's a very powerful example, the visualizing that you're doing. Just experiencing it now, practicing it, and the focus on home. It's very beautiful. Thank you. Marianne, we'll hear from you, and then I think Maureen is going to do a short meditation for us. So for those who are able to stay with us, we'll probably go another 10 minutes so we can hear from Marianne and then a short meditation.
So I hope that you are doing fine. Everyone is fine? So I remember once that I was ready to leave the body because it was the second time I went to Madhuban, and I was in front of Baba, and I was so happy to be in front of Baba that when he was there, I say, Baba, I can leave the body now. I'm completely safe. You are here. So just take me. It's so easy. Just I go with you, you know? And then it was very hard because it didn't happen because I really wanted, you know, I felt very safe in that space, and I had that thought. And now I know that there is quite like, as you were saying, kind of steps that we have to do for preparing, as Baba is saying that we need to prepare for emergencies. So I think that one thing is to prepare physically in the sense that we need to be clear what papers we need to do and do it and not wait for that, because I have seen seen that causes a lot of worries to the soul that is leaving the body. So I think that is a very physical thing, but we need to do it. Whatever property or whatever thing that we have, and we need to know to whom is going to go that property, that needs to be done. And as they were saying, that when you go in a trip, you need to prepare physically too. But then another thing is that I know that fear has different levels. Not all the fears are the same. And I have a realization this time during the pandemic, is that where is my feeling of safety, where it lies. So I like when you say that is this the contracting ego, because I realize that my safety is because I have kind of external support. Everything is a support. But when I face it, my only support is spiritual. It's inside. There is not external support. This body is not going to function. No one else is going to be there. So I need to feel safe, but internally. And that is something that we can do, and we can practice now. I'm safe. I'm safe inside, in a place that death is not there, even it doesn't exist. There is, it's just, it's eternal. It's I'm safe. I'm with Baba. I'm okay. I'm fine, and experience that more and more. And I have that realization because the sister that I told you that she just left, she was ambassador of Costa Rica in another country, and she was always a tip-top, no? She always looked beautiful. And when this cancer began, she told me that one thing that she had to deal with was not having her and becoming very, you know, the body changed, and to accept that you are not whatever you have, even your beauty, nothing of that, it's going to give you anything else, no? And so in that point, and with this pandemic, I feel that every one of us, and if we are in that state of consciousness, we are going to be safe. And that's one thing. And another that I feel that in the process of doing it is forgiveness. And last year I did an exercise where every time in Ambrit Vela, I brought one birth and forgive myself for whatever I did in that birth. and then I asked forgiveness for the rest. So I did that. It's 63 births, because in the 20, where I was not back. I was a deity, hopefully. So the rest of the, so I practiced that, and it helped me a lot, even for this birth, because I realized that many sufferings came because I had things with my parents, I wasn't forgive them for many things, and it came back a lot. And I knew that I need that exercise to be ready and to have a healthy end, like where I feel that I'm not having any debt with anyone, and that I'm fine, that I'm going to go and I'm fine. I don't have to ask anyone for anything. I'm just going to go peacefully. So it's a thing that I'm still doing, because that helped me a lot last year. But this year, I think that I have to continue doing for the things that are more recent.
Wow, wonderful tips. We could carry on this conversation, couldn't we? But we won't. So I want to say, I could anyways, I could talk about death for another couple hours easily, but these are great, great ideas. And I'm sure everybody listening has their own thought process too about what's important to you. So from the emotional cleansing, the forgiving, the being safe, creating that kind of safety experience with Baba, getting ready to go home. There's so many things we have yet to do, and we're doing them, and it's happening. And we're just bringing the attention to it through this conversation. So I want to thank you, Marianne. That was very beautiful what you brought. And Eric, thank you very much for coming. And Maureen, for you, for staying awake after your flight back from Iceland. We appreciate that. And to everybody listening too, thank you for coming and being with us. The recording of this will go out almost immediately from Kim in London, so you'll all have that and can share, and stay tuned for the next one. And I think we'll go out with a short meditation from Maureen, if you will, Maureen. And thank you.
We're gonna leave the body together.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
Om Shanti. So going inside and sitting on my seat in the center of the forehead. Truly being the beautiful, tiny point of light. The constant, imperishable form that was there before this body existed and will continue after this body ceases to be. I am an eternal being, timeless, boundless. And yet there is time to go, time to hear Baba's call, time to take Baba's hand and gently allow him to lead me away from this world to that land of silence, to my home. That journey takes a second. I'm in my home with Baba, and I am safe, completely safe, completely content, filled with Baba's love, embraced by Baba's love, in my true form, with true Baba, only the truth of the being that I am and the being of who Baba is, as he is what he is. Such a close, eternal, powerful bond between the soul and Baba, the child and the parent, the lover and beloved. This is my destination. There is no death. There is only life. I become the master bestower. Coming back to this reality to bestow all that Baba has given and to give others the feeling of safety, the atmosphere of safety under the canopy of Baba's love and protection. Om Shanti.